Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to Splatterthon Volume 1. And again, we are back at you here with another episode. Yes, we are talking Better Off Dead, the worst sequels in horror. And as you can see, and as you saw from our little intro there, we are talking Halloween Resurrection.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Now, this was my pick. Previously, if you didn't catch last week's episode, we spoke about Leprechaun 4 in Space, which was Luke's pick. So we had a fun, good discussion about Warwick Davis there and just kind of how that movie really took this series off the rails and just how it kind of really jumps the shark in a way.
Yeah,
Um,
in talking 4 really made me want to go back and watch 1.
yeah, no, right?
Just
So
to be like, what was how did the franchise start and how good is it? And then this is where we get in the 4th installment.
yes. So for me, I had to think about, what are some sequels that I just absolutely loathe, and what are some that just really I have no interest in watching here. I wanted to find something that really just irked me in a way. And Halloween Resurrection, with the latest Halloween film about to grace our screens this weekend, is one of those things where it's like, this movie is that movie. Like, I have only seen this a handful of times, and every time I watch it, I just sit there and I'm just like, dude, why did I put this on? Like, it is just so far removed from everything this series had been building up to. I find very little in redeeming quality in this film. And it's just, not only is it just bad from the perspective of just writing and acting and everything, it is just a really terrible story. And it just does nothing to further this franchise any further. Because previous to this one, we had H2O, which was
Yeah.
kind of like the crescendo before Hollow Green, as we got now in 2018. So it's like that was kind of the, like, we're putting an end to the Laurie Michael storyline. We're kind of tying it up into a bow. But of course, that movie made money. And what do you do when Mustafa Akkad starts making more money? Well, you make another Halloween movie, of course. And Halloween Resurrection, really, one of the biggest sins I would say that it does is, like, it takes H2O and kicks it right in the nuts. By saying that Lori didn't cut Michael's head off. That was a paramedic that she cut his head off with. And that right there, when I first saw this movie, was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, how does that even work? Like, how are you even going to sell this to me? Like, it's trash.
But and I don't quote me on this. Didn't H2O kick itself in the nuts in that sense, where this was already decided previously before Resurrection?
Not to friggin' Jamie Lee Curtis's knowledge, though. So, like, there were a lot of creatives behind the scenes that didn't know when they signed their contracts that they would be kind of continuing this. So,
Yeah.
again,
But I mean, like they knew this wasn't like because initially, before I had ever really looked into anything, I thought this was like a stretch from Resurrection. But this was already decided going out of H2O that this is how we're getting to the next film with this whole paramedic. Didn't they say Kevin Williamson came to them and a few weeks before shooting, and that ending scene was one of the first things that they had shot for H2O.
however it went down, and whenever we do discuss H2O on Splattercast, because I'm sure that's one we'll get around to, we can dive into it. But, like, again, it's just crazy to me that that's just like what you're going to do with that when that is being marketed and being triumphed as the crescendo of that series. You know what I mean? And, like, the beauty of that is that one goes from the first one and incorporates the second film, and then it's supposed to be H2O as the third. And you know what's really funny, man? You know what I just don't understand? Because it's no secret, we're big Halloween 2 fans. Like we like Halloween
I
2 a
love it.
lot. Like at least I love Halloween 2. I know you love Halloween 2. We actually really enjoy all the first 3 Halloweens quite a bit. Um this is the same director of Halloween
Yeah.
2. Rick Rosenthal came back and directed this movie. And I just don't know what crack he was smoking.
You know what dog food tastes like? Do you? It tastes just like it smells. Delicious.
When he made this and said, "Yeah, this is the same level of quality that I wanted to bring to Halloween 2. I'm doing this." Like, how does that happen? Like without this just being this has got to be just a paycheck movie for him.
That's what I feel like this was more so a cash grab. And when you talk about cash grab films, I really feel like this is, we're not really killing Michael off in H2O. We're gonna bring him back, and this whole thing here, the ending of H2O was really like, well, how do you even bring him back? And I think that curiosity got the general audience there to be like, well, what are we doing here? And from what I remember from this film, because I was growing up, and what year was this released? Was this 2003? Or
I'll
2002, something
take a
like that.
check. I don't remember.
Um,
Let me see.
any which way, I remember some of the marketing for this film, and I believe that it was marketed more so that Jamie Lee Curtis, they never came out outright and said Jamie Lee Curtis was going to be in this film throughout, but it was kind of implied from an audience that, oh no, she's going to be in here. We're gonna have some sort of final showdown. And I mean, she's killed 15 minutes into the film, and it's like,
Yeah.
to be honest, I've never walked out of a film in my life in terms of going to the theater. If that would have happened, I would have left. I I would have just been done. I don't want to even care. I understand what they're trying to do is put a bookend to that, and now we're trying to pick up to something new here. I get it, but we don't want it. You know what I mean? Like it was handled so poorly that I wouldn't have cared the story afterward. So I would have left the theater if I had witnessed Jamie Lee Curtis being stabbed 15 minutes in and falling off that building, and I would have been like, this is how we're ending this. It's such a big build up. I mean, say what you will about the Hollow Green trilogy here, but it's like at least they're building toward it. They're gonna give it some kind of recognition. Where this one was just kind of such a throwaway. 15 minutes in, it didn't work for me at all.
Yeah, and for us, we're gonna find out tomorrow how the Hollow Green series kind of ends. And we just released our episode of Splattercast on the Halloween 2018
Hey,
and Halloween Kills. So it's kind of like we have our opinions per se on that. And it's like we have it, but at least they never ever got as low as this. At least as far as we're getting. Like I know a lot of people don't like Halloween Kills, but like if you put that movie and this movie side by side, there is at least entertainment value
yeah,
to Halloween Kills and still a level of quality in just the filmmaking and the
yeah.
presentation
They handled
as
it
to
with
where
some sort of care. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like they have a love for it.
this oozes that early 2000s cheese, and like you can just see that. And the thing that I couldn't stand is just the constant Miramax kind of jerking themselves off throughout this. I mean, you have two characters who dress up as Jules and fucking John Travolta from
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction. You know what I mean? Like that's their Halloween costume and everything at this Halloween party. And like, it's just like it just really feels like we don't know what the hell we're going to do with this, but we need to put Michael back on the big screen to reel in the big bucks. And so we're just going to kind of fill this with references and other things. And, I know reality TV was a big thing at this point, and so they kind of try to play into that angle where it's like, oh,
And
we're live streaming this and all that. And it's just like so
kind of like
poorly
the
handled.
internet with the instant messenger at the time. This is really such a moment in time film. You know what I mean? Where it's like
Hmm.
this stuff dates itself so much and
So
not in a good
fast
way.
too. Yeah.
um that it's just something where it's hard to sit through, where it's like you can look at the 80s films and say, oh, I want to live in that Halloween 4 kind of nostalgia, because it it isn't I can't think of a better word, but it isn't lame, but like this stuff for
No.
me, you watch it and you're like, this is pretty lame stuff to to try
Because
to go back and relive.
with Halloween 4, it's kind of like an acquired taste kind of thing, I feel like, where it's like I could understand somebody not really liking where they go with that. But for me, as such a big Halloween fan, I have grown to really enjoy that movie. And, as we kind of go that 5, a little less, 6, even less than that. But it's still like I have respect for that storyline and just how they
Yeah.
tried to do something with it. It's interference from Mustafa Akkad, all that stuff. But like once you get down to this, where it's just kind of like after the H2O stuff, where they really try, you can just immediately see like H2O, they kind of let them do their thing. And then they really just immediately were like, now let's get all our hands back in this thing and start kind of, you know, fucking everything up. And the thing that I really can't stand about this movie, and for some movies you'd think this would kind of work, how this really is all in one location in the Myers house,
Yeah.
and just how, to me, they make that house seem so much bigger than it ever actually is. And it just, I feel like there's no possible way, like one scene in particular where oh, what's his name, it's Bill, I think,
I,
Thomas Ian
I,
Nichols from American Pie, when he
that's
gets
how I
killed
know
through
him.
the mirror. It's
Yeah.
like, how does nobody hear that?
Watch me.
Like, that's the level of laziness that we're into, where he smashes the mirror. The dude is screaming his fucking head off. They're only a couple rooms away from him.
Yeah.
And it's like they're treating it like it's this mansion where it's
It's
just
not
like,
like
oh, you can't hear him at all.
we're in the abandoned Smith's Grove or something where it's like this
Yeah,
huge building. It's like this is a house. Anyone's going to be able to hear that
that
type
would
of
have
stuff.
been better, in my opinion. Now, you've already written a better movie, like just from that comment alone, where it's like, yeah, let's go to Smith's Grove. It's all shut down and stuff. And he's
Yeah.
just hiding out there. Like, he's gone back. He's killed Lori. So he goes back to the only other place he knows.
You
You know what I
know,
mean?
that was just an offhand comment for me, but now that we're kind of conceptualizing this on a totally different thing, let's write that film.
Halloween Resurrection Part 2. What should have been.
There we
But
go.
yeah, I mean, I just I
And
can't
that's where
sit
it's like,
here and
and you're talking about like what's the name of each character? I really don't know any of the characters' names, and
I
it's
wouldn't have
just
gotten that. I have IMDb right here. So it's like
and
that's the only reason I knew that.
and that's where it's like, I've probably watched this. I've watched Halloween Resurrection way more many times than I should have, and I still don't know anyone's name in this whole film. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, that one guy, or the others, the one sleazy guy, and then the sleazier guy. You know what I mean? So it's like that's how I reference them. I have no actual recollection of their actual names.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's a mess. I honestly, I there's no, I mean, I don't want to get too into it just yet, but like there's really no redeeming qualities for me, except I gotta say, I know that it's a big joke for everybody, and yes, it's a joke for me too. Buster Rhymes as Freddy, again, the only character I think I can remember his name of. Um, you know, he's funny. And like, I like the only sequence I can say that I kind of like is when he's like, oh shit, you scared me. And he starts telling Michael off, and Michael's just sitting there, just like, it makes him look like a big dope. Like, Michael's not fucking scary anymore by
Yeah,
this point. Like, he's just a big joke. But it's just like he's just sitting there saying, like, I'm Michael Myers, like, you go do your own thing. I'm gonna do my shit and blah blah blah. It's like, it's funny, but it's like the most entertainment you're gonna get in this movie.
yeah. And see, and for me, always watching these things, and I'm like, I think that the guy that he thinks that was the guy that was killed earlier on in the house. Um,
Mhm.
and it makes zero sense. Where it's like for me to even try and rewrite just even with a small line, but like for me, it's like they miss the boat so many times on these things where it's like, why would you even think that guy is dressed up? And it's like you should have just went with the whole thing of that guy was supposed to be Michael going into this, but he didn't show back up, and then so Buster Rhymes had to do it, and then he's kind of pissed that this guy shows up trying to be Michael again. You know what I mean? At least give us some sort of method to the madness here as to why you think this guy's dressed up instead of you think he would just randomly show up. But it's like
Yeah.
again, I think they were just focused on random kills, name faces, and just Michael Myers himself. And it really shows going back and watching it that they weren't really interested in making an installment in the Halloween franchise as much as they were making a cash grab film.
I agree with you. I mean, you could just tell that there is no level of care. Like I
Yeah,
was gonna say even the bare minimum, but like I just don't think there is. And again, it's just doesn't make any sense to me because it's like Rick Rosenthal already made a Halloween movie. He already made a movie that we a lot of fans agree is fantastic. Like I think that like say what you will, if you're not a fan of Halloween 2, like I can get that. But like for me, it's like I still think it's one of the best. Like it is one
yeah,
of the best in this series. It's again when they kind of cut Halloween Green when Hollow Green was being announced and they said we're cutting out Halloween 2. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, do you have to kind of thing? Because it's like that movie is still like when I watch Halloween 1, I'm putting on Halloween 2 right after.
yeah.
Because they meld so well. You could tell there was such a level of care there, and it's just absent, completely absent.
They're able to encapsulate the feeling of the original film in a different way, I think, where it's like this one is very much in that slasher form, but it still has the kind of temp poles that the original Halloween set up. So it's
Mhm.
like to kind of just try and ignore those things. It doesn't make any sense, but it's like again here with Rick Rosenthal. I mean, we're how far removed from that Halloween 2 film. I don't know what his filmography looks like in between Halloween 2 and Resurrection, but he clearly lost something or just didn't even care, which he seems like, and it seems like really no one in this film really cared about what films had come before in the Halloween installments.
No, I agree with you. And like the last point that I really wanted to bring here, I'm going to do a little screen share, is I want you guys to see this. So we're looking at the original mask for, Halloween. And I know this is a huge debate as you get into the sequels because even 4 and 5 and 6, they don't look great. But like, and I know H2O has that CGI mask that everybody's like really upset with. But I'm just saying, like, this is the original. So it's like, you got the lifeless eyes. This is peak Halloween mask. And I'll even say
Yeah,
the Hollow Green stuff. It's great. I think the look's great. It's as close as we've ever gotten. Um, but for God's sakes, man, what the fuck is this?
it is
Like,
so weird looking.
I know it's such it is truly just like this. Like you can see all his eyes, the detail in his face. Like it looks nothing like that original mask. And
It's just such a departure, you know what I mean? And it's like at least 4 or 5, those things are comically bad, where this one is like disturbingly bad in a sense
mm,
where I don't know what to make of it. The other ones I can laugh at. This one is just like ugh, and it's so distracting anytime like when you're talking about the scene with Busta Rhymes and the real Michael face to face, it's all I can really concentrate on. And then even in that ending scene when the fire's going, it's like when he's just staring, it's just I don't know, it takes me so much out of it. I don't know if it is because I can see the eyes, but I can see the eyes in the original Halloween too, and that doesn't take me out of it. I think there adds a
no.
creepiness factor to it.
Yeah, and it's like they can play it into because even Hollow Green, they show the eyes at some points, and
Yeah,
like it's done really well because I think there's a certain level of nuance and care that you have to do when it comes to lighting that. Like, I mean, this is the definitive shape. Like, if we're talking the shape, like this is what I think of the
yeah,
lifeless eyes, as Loomis has always said. But this is just a dude in a mask pretending to be Michael Myers, and I just hate it. Like, you can see how much more like there's not much detail. Like you have the cheekbones and everything here. They shroud him in darkness and things. And I get that he's in fire here, but it's like there's so much unnecessary detail on this mask
I
and like the way it fits. It's so tiny on the face and the hair, ridiculous. Like
I
it's
feel
just
like
awful.
this is the version of Michael Myers that after the events of the original, he went and got reconstructive surgery to become a male model, but he still looks similar. So it's like because he's got like defining features that are like unsettling, weird. It's not scary, unsettling. It's just like why are we putting so many features onto his face when
Yeah.
the idea here was he wanted a blank like almost a
He's
blank
lifeless.
canvas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it
Um,
is the essence of evil.
maybe it's
It's
the
like, and there's
eyebrows.
nothing.
I don't know. It's something.
You know, I I'm not gonna pull them up again, but yeah, I mean, you might be right there because like they're so thin in the original, and then these are just
It's
so
so
thick and
weird.
noticeable. But again,
Yeah.
it just shows that level of care that's not being taken here because they
Yeah.
light Michael up so much in this movie, like to where you can see him so clear as day. He's hardly ever in the shadow. Um, I know I'm kind of jumping back here, but I do want to say the only interesting kind of character that I thought I liked a little bit, and I do want to pull his name if I can. If not, I can always just you know, talk about him at the start. Was the character who he was in the mental asylum towards the start. And can we mention that the stuff at the beginning and the rest of the movie feel like two completely different movies? Like they're just like so like hamstrung together where it's like you can kind of see maybe a nugget of an idea of like let's have the whole thing take place in this mental asylum, but it feels like they put that movie on fast forward and
Yeah.
they just ran you through it, and then they're like, oh shit, now what are we gonna do? We got to do a fucking random slasher in the Myers house. But there was that character who
I know who you're talking about.
yeah, he's like obsessed with serial killers. We don't got his
Yeah.
name. I'm sorry, guys. It's just everybody's so fucking unmemorable in this movie. But
Everyone knows who
yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah. Anyway, he I like that scene where Michael hands him the knife and he's just kind of recounting. He's like, "Oh, Michael Myers, blah blah blah, killed and stuff." Like that's an interesting idea, but like in a terrible film. Like, and I'm talking the sliver of an idea where it's just
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like having a character like that throughout the film. You know what I mean?
And
Like,
and I'm watching this back for us to do this Better Off Dead segment. I legitimately verbalized. I said, as he's doing his little, he killed whatever, and now he's back. It like for me, that came off as this is going to be such a great idea, and then it turns out to be like such a shit lame idea. Where I was just like,
mhm.
I feel like someone thought in script writing it was going to be very cool, and then it's just like, I don't think so. For me, it didn't work.
No,
Just because
it's rough.
I thought I thought someone thought it would be a cooler idea, and the execution wasn't really there for me. I think for me, in terms of any redeeming quality from this film, I kind of I struggle with the reality showness of this is very dated, but I think it would have worked in another film at that time if it wasn't Halloween. Like if it would been of an interesting enough concept to pull off in some random B slasher kind of thing. If it was a sci-fi original, something like that.
You know what that movie is, and I know that you do not agree with me on this. That's Wrong Turn 2. I think Wrong Turn 2 pulls that off way better than this.
Yeah, I for me it's a lateral move, but
But that's because
but
you're
like
such a defender of Wrong Turn. I understand that movie is an abomination to you. As to where I
yeah.
look at that and I'm just like, that's fun. But we'll talk
Well,
about those at some point.
yeah, and it's like I think that idea kind of is there, especially the idea of the whole dangertainment thing with where they started putting things in there to kind of facilitate people kind of the reactions that they wanted in a sense where it's like, oh, the coloring books and the knives and things like that to kind of freak everyone out, and the limbs and things like that to kind of Busta Rhymes goes, I have news for you, no, everyone thinks reality television is boring, because reality television isn't actually reality television. So I think that idea was kind of fun. It wasn't pulled off the best, but like if we're talking any redeeming quality of this film, I think that concept was decent enough. It just wasn't executed to its fullest extent.
No, I agree. Um, I guess yeah, to kind of wrap things up here on Halloween Resurrection, we clearly have a lot we can say on it. I mean, it is something that definitely hurts to watch whenever you have to throw it on. And maybe we can revisit it at some point down the road. But for Better Off Dead, I mean, we kind of always decide whether or not does this deserve that title, or is there anything we can do to kind of resurrect this film? And unfortunately, and I know it's going to be few and far between where we have that segment of like, should this be put, brought back? Is this bolstered? Can we kind of find the good in this? as to where Leprechaun 4 last week, we can see that as like, I could throw this on, and like it sucks that this is how they took it and this is how they took the franchise, but like there's still some tongue-in-cheek humor in there that's could be slightly redeemable. From an outside perspective, this is
Yeah.
a complete abomination, in my opinion. This is where it's just like no care, no effort, no, just like we're on autopilot and we are just waiting for those checks to roll in.
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly believe that Halloween Resurrection is better off dead.
So if I wasn't already done with this film after they kill Jamie Lee Curtis in the first 15 minutes, I would have been absolutely done when the main character of this film screams so loud that she shatters glass.
Well, that was so
Uh,
weird. That was so weird, and they never do anything with that again.
I was just like, this is absolutely horrible writing. And I think that's kind of indicative of the writing in general. Is like, this is a good idea to have the main character scream so loud to shatter glass. And I think that says it all right there. I don't think this film should be called Halloween Resurrection. It should be called Halloween Better Off Dead.
I'll see you in hell.
Yeah, guys, that is gonna about wrap us up here for Halloween Resurrection. Clearly, this film is, as we stated, better off dead. Throw it back in the grave, throw it in the box, bury it deep. And if you don't need our, convincing of it, there's 100 other videos online. And if you're not even satisfied with that, just look what Scream Factory had to do this past year with their Halloween box set of getting it was 6 H2O and Resurrection out
Yeah,
to
they knew what
everybody
they
on
were doing.
4K. They had to
Yep.
put it in a box set because they knew nobody was going to buy Resurrection.
Yep.
And I know that it's a little bit of a rights thing too, where they had to do it like that, but also it's like, that they're just like, man, if we put Resurrection out and we put enough money into this, nobody's going to buy this fucking movie.
They're going to be fully stocked till the end of time.
Absolutely. But yeah, guys, again, thank you for joining us here on Better Off Dead. This is a Splatterthon exclusive. We do have 2 more weeks in the Halloween season here in the month of October, so you will have 2 more videos. Check back here on Wednesday's forum. If you do want to discuss a little bit leading into the last installment of Hollow Green's trilogy here, we will be on Twitter and Instagram ready to take your comments, as well as comment down below. Let us know what you guys think of Halloween Resurrection. Are we way off base? Is this an all-time classic and we're just being jaded and sucky? Or are we all on the same page here that this is a crappy movie? So follow us on our social media at SplattercastPod, and as well as comment down below. And Luke, you got anything for the folks?
If anyone tries to come on our page to tell us Halloween Resurrection is a good film, they are instantly getting blocked. I will have no positive discourse on Halloween Resurrection on Splattercast.
Okay, you heard it from Luke. If you are a defender, please unsubscribe. No, please don't unsubscribe. We really like having you guys here. Please, I want to hear your thoughts. If you really do love this movie, maybe we can put this thing on trial at some point, and we'll have you guys plead your case. But yeah, guys, it's gonna wrap us up here. Held a town hall Resurrection, whether it gets the boot or not, and we throw it back in the coffin. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it. That's gonna wrap us up here on this episode for Splatterthon. Better Off Dead, as we said. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I think this has been a fun series. I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. You can also check out our latest podcast, which again, we stated a couple times. We went over the Hollow Green films where we discussed Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. It just released on Monday, as well as keep your eye out because the end of this week, we're going to have a lot of content on Halloween Ends coming to hit you. So keep an eye out for it.
On the Better Off Dead.
No, I hope not. But I don't know, man. You guys know our thoughts if you listen to that podcast. So. Alrighty, well, that about wraps it up for us. So, anyway, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, guys, stay scared.